What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream episode of For the People podcast. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. We have a great show for you guys today. We're going to be discussing the Luigi Mangione case and some positive developments that have come about as of yesterday. We are also going to be discussing the tragic shooting at the mosque in California, in San Diego, and the ridiculous reactions that we all expected from these same damn perpetrators. Some things we just know when we hear the news, you might as well go ahead and wait for the next shoe to drop, because the response to the news is going to be damn near as bad as the news itself, and reveals a rather ugly side to society that we are seeing a consistent pattern of, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. And we'll get into that in a second. We're also going to have a conversation with Dr. Ron about a case that he is involved in and being prosecuted in regarding some COVID treatment policies. He actually was contracted at one point to help deal with this COVID issue under Biden. And this was before the mandates. So he actually treated COVID in his unique way. You know, there were various treatments for COVID, but it did involve a vaccine. And then when it was time for them to roll out the actual mandates themselves, they let them go. And then the mandates kicked in. So this particular doctor has a long history with COVID, with this government. And this is actually the second time that he's being prosecuted. And we're going to get the details on that when he jumps on the show around 12 o'clock, I believe, 12 o'clock Eastern time. There you go. You know, I'm in Rio, so I got to remember. And we're going to talk about Thomas Massie, bro. We got to talk about Thomas Massie. But before we get started, of course, everybody, like this video, share this video, please, because we can't get in the algorithm without your help, people. That is for sure. Well, let me make sure that everything is good on my end. And y'all make sure I don't sound like a chipmunk today, please. I don't believe that my son messed with my mic today, but you know how that goes. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we have some positive. We're going to start with the positive first. Luigi Mangione got his defense got some stuff thrown out, some evidence rather thrown out of the case because of the fact that they didn't get a warrant to search his backpack, and it was an unlawful search due to that fact. So let's check out this article real quick, and let me know where you're watching from too. If you're watching live, well, obviously you're watching live, but if you're watching from X, if you're watching from YouTube, and what city and what country you're from. I know we got viewers all over the world now, so. Bing bong. And pull up this article for you guys, breaking down this story. Like, share. Okay. So you guys can see that. Judge rules gun and writings are admissible in Luigi's murder trial. That's an interesting title to go with, but that's why I went with this article. So a New York judge will allow a gun and writings found in Luigi Mangione's backpack after his 2024 arrest to be presented at his state murder trial over the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, but has ruled that other items are inadmissible. Judge Gregory, okay, I'm not gonna lie, the Portuguese in me wants to say carro, but I'm gonna go with caro or caro. I'm gonna go with that. Ruled on Monday that certain evidence must be suppressed, including the magazine, cell phone, passport, wallet, computer chip found with Mangione at Pennsylvania McDonald's. Caro said that evidence was recovered as part of an improper and warrantless search of the then 26-year-old. And I don't know if you guys remember, but whenever this whole thing went down, people were immediately suspicious at the fact that Luigi Mangione was targeted in the way that he was targeted, because there was not really any description, generally speaking, of the shooter, right? There's no, if there was a clear video of Luigi Mangione shooting this former CEO, then we wouldn't be going through all of this, right? It wouldn't be so much contention about whether or not he actually was guilty. So for them to run up on Luigi Mangione out of nowhere and search his backpack, when we know cops tend to do what when they're looking for a culprit? They will plant evidence, which is why you need a warrant, so that we can make sure that everybody is held to a standard of honesty and integrity, and no one is being having their due process infringed upon. That is what took place whenever they just walked up on Luigi Mangione without probable cause and searched his backpack. Carl said that evidence was recovered as part of an improper and warrantless search. However, prosecutors will be allowed to present items found during a search at a police station, including a gun and a notebook. Well, that isn't a search, and that's not a. As like I said, it was weird to start off with the gun. Like, oh, they're gonna. It's like they're working backwards from the conclusion that they want, which is obviously the mainstream, the establishment, the wealthy, the elites. They want Luigi Mangione to be scapegoated. They need someone to scapegoat, so that no one ever has the audacity to think that they can stand up to the elite or challenge the elite or scare the elite in the way that someone might be getting away with scaring the elite after they got done killing this United Healthcare CEO. Because in my opinion, based off what we've seen so far, there's nothing convincing me that Mangione is guilty. Carl also ruled out, this is a big one, Carl also ruled that some of Mangione's questioning by the officers who initially encountered him at Pennsylvania, at the Pennsylvania fast food restaurant must be excluded from trial. That's a big one. Those include questions about Mangione lying about his name and asking if he had a fake ID. Now, think about it. Why? Because people would say that your credibility would be called into question and that would be probable cause, for example, to search someone's backpack. I know that cops would lie and do something and use that as an excuse to do an illegal search and seizure, because something like that basically happened to me in Florida. I was literally just walking down the street after the club on the beach, and a cop just stops me, and I didn't have my state ID on me at the time, because at the time I generally didn't walk around with my state ID. I always walked around with my military ID, because my military ID gets me in everywhere. Why would I walk around with my state ID? And if I lose my military ID, I will always have my state ID. But if I lose my state ID, it is much more difficult to get things done with only a military ID, like just to renew things and just generally speaking, it's better if you live in a state if you have the state ID, right? So it's my license and all that good stuff. I don't like to lose it. So he stops me, says, "Let me see your ID." I know why he stopped me, because hell, when I lived in Miami, some people would argue still, but definitely when I lived in Miami, everybody thought I was the plug. They thought I was Poppy. They thought I was Hector. They thought I was moving. To some degree, maybe that's how I dressed. So and because of my skin tone and because I'm always with Latinos, they thought he thought I was a drug dealer, basically. So he stopped me, asked for an ID. I said, "I don't have a state ID with me. Here's my military ID." No, it's required by state law that you have a state ID. That's not true. You just made that up, guy. I told him that straight to his face. I'm like, no, that's not a law, bro. And also, me even being nice enough to show you my ID is more than what I should be doing right now. But because I'm just trying to get home and I don't feel like dealing with y'all, that's the only reason I was even kind enough to do that. And now you're claiming, oh, you don't have a state ID. What he did, because I was near my vehicle, right? He was like, "Where's your car?" I was like, "I'm going to it." Why? It's like, it was right there. Because my friend was waiting to actually pick me up in my car. So he then uses that as an excuse to search me because I didn't have a state ID. Because basically he's trying to say that like I was lying and I was living in Florida. And then use that as the same excuse to search my car. It then says I was driving without a license, even though I wasn't driving. My friend was in the driver's seat. Tried to say I was driving drunk and that I was resisting arrest. I wasn't in the car. But it's because the only charge you really would have been able to put is resisting arrest, since you don't have a state ID isn't actually a law. And that was used to put me in jail for the night. I bullshit you not. Now, whenever we actually had the trial, I made him look like a goddamn fool, and he was reprimanded for it by the judge, actually. Because they were like, well, she was like, why did you even ask for the state ID? Well, it looked like he was getting in his vehicle. I said, no, it didn't. You a goddamn lie. You even asked me where's my vehicle at because you didn't know where I had parked. So don't tell me it looked like I was getting into my vehicle. And my friend had been waiting for me for a hot minute. So, dog, that is what they do. So if he gave a fake name, like, I could understand the instinct of wanting to give a fake name in a situation where two cops walk up on you out of nowhere and don't explain to you why they're approaching you. Because why would you want to implicate yourself? They have no right to question you without probable cause. You're not doing anything illegal. You're in a public space. So yeah, no, the questioning should not have been included. And he should not be, there shouldn't be any prejudicial action taken because he lied about some things. Yeah, I would have lied too. Especially, that situation's weird. If I'm a white dude, and I'm fully aware of my privilege, I would do the same thing. To keep it real. Would y'all not? Prosecutors will be able to admit evidence from later questioning when Mangione was in custody, Carr ruled. Mangione is accused of shooting and killing Thompson on a Manhattan street in December 2024. He faces state charges, including second-degree murder, several firearm charges, and stalking. He has pleaded not guilty, as you all remember. So that's some positive news, actually, guys. When your credibility comes in a case, now your testimony is tainted. And for them to say no, him lying to these officers that were questioning him, we don't even know if he actually did lie, right? That is what the officer said. Things that happen at the police station, they at least have some type of evidence to prove, right? And have a reason for why they emptied out his book bag, for example. I don't know if the gun was actually his. That part is still up in the air, but it wasn't claimed to have been found at the McDonald's, which is also in and of itself super strange because you searched his bag, you somehow found a notebook and whatever, and you found his other stuff, and you didn't find the gun, but you get to the police station and all of a sudden there's a whole ass gun. And for the person who asked me that, Michael, did I sue them? No. But don't get it twisted. I tried to. You want to hear that story really quick before we move on to the next topic? Yeah. So in law, there are conflict of interest. Generally speaking, say I want to sue somebody, but the police department that I want to sue in this particular instance has another a law firm that I want to get in contact with on payroll. That law firm can no longer represent me. So do you know what Miami PD does? Miami PD, I'm sure this is the same with basically every major police department, but definitely Miami PD. They pay all of the best civil rights firms, civil rights attorneys. They keep them on retainer. And so whenever I would call an attorney, I'll go through the initial screening, right? And they would say it's all good. But then when I would tell them, I would explain to them it was Miami PD. They say, oh, sorry, we can't help you. Huh? Well, I don't have a case? No, we're not saying that. We're just saying, unfortunately, we can't help you. I was like, why would they not be able to help me? That's kind of ridiculous. This is the whole, I went to Crump. Ben Crump. Y'all know who Ben Crump is? He's known for civil rights cases. And then I realized after, there's a reason Ben Crump only takes cases out of the state of Florida. Now I understand. Because it's conflict of interest. The only way that he would take a case in Florida would probably be like, I mean, it would have to be like an international story, basically. But outside of that, yeah, he only takes cases outside of Florida. And every human rights attorney or civil rights attorney that I called, they would, initial screening sound super excited because it's an open and shut case. And then they would say, well, so where did this event take place? Miami Beach. So hold on, it was Miami PD? Yeah. Oh, sorry, can't help you. So just some words to the wise there, guys. If you live in a big city, you get pinned up and jammed up by the police force. That is, I know, I kind of knew that was like I knew that's how it worked. Like, I know about conflict of interest and both parties can't contract the same lawyer, et cetera, because I was a paralegal. So in the military, and effectively it was the same thing. Like if I was handling a divorce or a separation, if whoever came to us first, that's who we had to represent. And like, so if the husband came first, then now we represent the husband, can't represent the wife. You know what I'm saying? They can't come to us for advice. You got to go get your own. So it was like that. Same situation. But in my opinion, the city, you got to think about it. For that to happen, the city has to be paying the police department so much that they can have a budget dedicated to keeping civil rights attorneys, who would obviously be the ones who would benefit the most from challenging them. They have an entire budget dedicated to keeping them on retainer. That's insane. That's insane. So, yeah, man. But it's speaking of lawsuits, whenever Luigi Mangione wins this case and gets proven and gets acquitted, I hope he sues the hell out of the state of New York, right? For putting him on display and trying to basically, I don't know if y'all remember when Eric Adams was like parading him in the streets, effectively accusing him of guilt. Like, no, declaring his guilt effectively. Not even accusing him, marching him down the street, trying to get brownie points, declaring his guilt. When in the United States, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But obviously the media did not respond that way. There are mainstream media apparatuses that didn't respond that way, journalists who didn't respond that way, talking heads that didn't respond that way, the mayor of New York didn't respond that way. And it was on purpose. It was because the goal was to find a scapegoat. It wasn't to find the culprit. Come on, guys. That culprit's probably long gone. Long gone. We know that a lot of these police departments and these, FBI and all that good stuff, we know they can't do their job unless somebody gives them the intelligence first. And it's usually because if they got the intelligence from somebody, it's because they were already working for the police department or the FBI. Right? We got people watching from Las Vegas, Nevada. What's up, Diana? Cape Cod, Arizona, Missouri, Albany, Wyoming. Wyoming's such a beautiful place, man. Such a beautiful place. Las Vegas, y'all, man, I love Vegas. I know it can be a little, I will tell you one thing I don't like about Vegas, though. When it gets dry. That dry heat is different, boy. They don't tell you when you go to Vegas during that season, really, anytime from spring on. Like, you need to stay with like a lip balm. You need to stay with chapstick. Like, they just need to have like a little, Vegas should sell like a little thing that you put on your hand and you just boop, pop it out because you need it 24/7. Outside of that, I love Vegas. Nicaragua. Oh man, what's going on? Southeast Virginia. I got fam out there. We're going to move on to the London, UK. Rated. A couple of days ago, I wouldn't have actually known what rated meant. I rate that. But I got a couple of my boys. I got a couple mandem that live out here in Brazil with me. So, bro, all I hear all day is British slang, which is hilarious. And they're like a Afro-Caribbean British. So it's like I'm getting hit with 30 different types of slang any given day. And I remember my homeboy told me, he's like, all right, I rate that. I rate that. It's like, what? You rated what? Like, what, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? What you rated what? He's like, no, I'm just saying, I rate that. Okay? He's like, I like it. It's good. I support it. I'm like, oh, okay. Bruh. I was like, man, if you don't talk to me in regular English, don't hit me with that Harry Potter English. All right, man. Trini. Oh, so you're Caribbean British too. Word. Shout out to my West Indians out there. Bruh, we got to talk about the shooting really quickly that happened in San Diego, California. So we're going to check out the article real quick talking about it, and we're going to look at some of these absolutely ridiculous responses. So 5 dead, including 2 suspects after shooting at San Diego Mosque. 2 teenage gunmen opened fire on Monday at the Islamic Center of San Diego in California, killing 3 men outside the mosque, one of them a security guard, before the suspects were found dead, apparently from self-inflicted gunshot wounds, police said. All of the children who were attending a day school that is part of the mosque complex, the largest in San Diego County, were accounted for and safe after the shooting, thank God, which erupted shortly after 12 p.m. Pacific time, according to San Diego Police Chief. Wall said the FBI was called in to assist in the investigation of the incident, which the police chief said authorities were treating as a hate crime. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. That is not giving me much confidence that this will ever be resolved. Because, first of all, why are y'all calling the FBI? I mean, this is pretty open and shut. It was clearly a hate crime. Y'all, we haven't been given names, right? You know the police departments do have like forensics apparatus. They could investigate, do the basics, give us names at least of the adult who's 19, even if you can't necessarily at this moment give the name of the 17-year-old who passed away, and after he killed two or three people, right? But y'all confident that Kash Patel and his FBI are going to do their best to discover the true motives behind this shooting? Probably not, man. Probably not. How's the Charlie Kirk situation going? Right? And if you're going to call the FBI, it's because you're trying to look at hard drives. You're looking at, I mean, you can still do that with the police department, but I'm like, you want to talk about a deep dive. You're calling the FBI in to do a deep dive into everything. Hard drives, cell phone chips, WhatsApp convos, signal convos, like you're doing all of that. And you're genuinely trying to find the motives and what they were doing prior to conducting this mass shooting. Which means you are probably going to find some tweets. You're probably going to find some individuals that they aspired to be, that they were inspired by. And you might find some people that, if exposed as being the inspiration to these 2 shooters, might be a little bit problematic for the current Zionist regime. Right? Might be a little problematic for the current establishment. The FBI and under this administration has seemingly only been called in to obstruct justice, not to carry it out. To obstruct investigations, not to carry it out. As Autistic Grandma said in the chat, look at the Tyler Robertson investigation. They're making him a patsy as we speak. The investigation is going absolutely nowhere. And if I'm not mistaken, matter of fact, let me verify this right now. We can verify this. Hold up. Because I think that the FBI was not involved in Luigi Mangione's investigation because they didn't even have time to. Dear Luigi. But I think not, which is crazy, given that it's become a national spectacle. Oh, okay. Supposedly the FBI was involved in Luigi Mangione's investigation before and after his arrest. But I mean, huh? That leaves me with more questions than answers. Why? Because when the FBI got involved with Luigi Mangione's investigation, the prosecution decided days later, that nigga guilty. Indict him. Put him in jail. Don't bail him out. We know for a fact we have enough evidence in days. Tyler Robinson situation, not really going at. We're still kind of waiting to see how this is going. And there seems to be zero urgency. But like y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would consider the killing of Charlie Kirk, as far as the amount of attention it called, right? The killing of Charlie Kirk was definitely like a bigger deal, especially the way that he was killed and the fashion that he was killed, and like being killed in front of an entire student body. His wife being plastered all over TV and social media, having then assuming his company, which he isn't qualified to be the CEO of, or whatever, that now is worth half $500 million. Like, okay, yeah, we're gonna drag our feet on that one. Like, yeah, we think Tyler Robinson is guilty, but whatever. Can we get some more information? No. Luigi Mangione. Yep, here's all the information. We got it knocked out. Here you go. Go ahead, prosecute him. He's guilty. Do the perp walk with him, Eric Adams. Do the perp walk with him. But we got the FBI here, and I doubt that we're going to get the information that we need. Or I seriously doubt that the FBI is going to do their due diligence in this particular case. A short time after police discovered the two teenage males, aged 17 and 19, in a vehicle in the middle of the street, dead from apparently self-inflicted gunshot wounds, the chief said at the afternoon conference. He said investigators were still piecing together details of what precipitated the shooting and how the violence transpired. Shots were also fired at a landscaper a couple of blocks away in what apparently was a separate shooting incident. Though police did not say whether a connection had been ruled out. The landscaper was not injured, thankfully. So, guys, a Muslim establishment, a mosque, was shot at. Muslims were killed and injured. Muslims were the victims of violence. So you know what that must mean. It must mean Zionists have to find a way to make themselves the victim. Yeah. Bro, for example, like, y'all not gonna believe some of this shit. It's from a journalist. Nuts, bro. I really don't know what qualifies as being a journalist nowadays, but this is from a person who claims himself to be a journalist. So look, developing. Shooting at Islamic Center in San Diego. All Jewish institutions are on lockdown, including schools. What? Y'all on lockdown for what? For who? For why? And you hear that there's a shooting at a mosque, and your immediate response to give an update on what Jewish people are doing? I'm confused. I told her, I said, oh, there's a syntax error there, my guy. There's a syntax error in your logic and in your reporting. She was upset about it too. Is there's a syntax error in your tweet? She said, imagine focusing on syntax when resistance is being justified. She didn't understand the joke, clearly. I said, you clearly missed the point. When Muslims get slaughtered, you don't have the right to make it about Jews, whether it's a few people in a mosque or a genocide. The fact this is your immediate response instead of reflecting on how the people close to the victims are feeling says a lot about your priorities. Which is true. This is a consistent theme that we see whenever literally anyone else is attacked, honestly, right? From the genocide, right? Israel commits a genocide. We have to create safe spaces for Jewish people because they're going to be attacked on campuses and experience hate crime. That's crazy because like most of those Jewish people, we wouldn't have any idea that they were Jewish if they didn't make a whole public ass announcement that they were Jewish. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but like Christianity, basically anybody can be Jewish. Black, white, brown, dark, blurple, yellow, high yellow, like Asian, Cubans. I had no idea how many Cubans were Jewish until I moved to Miami. There's a huge Latino Jewish population. There's a huge Brazilian Jewish population. It could be anything. Nobody's gonna target you. But this is what happens. Muslim get and what's also interesting is the difference in the response from many of these people whenever they know it's Muslims being attacked versus whenever they know it's a Jewish person that was attacked and they assume that the person that doing the attack or who conducted the attack was Muslim, right? What do they always remember with Bondi Beach? Oh my God. Oh my God. Bruh, it was supposed to be an international emergency. It was, oh man, this is why we have to justify genocide. This is why we gotta trample on free speech across the world. Look at what happened. Jewish people are uniquely attacked. They're in unique danger. No one else has ever been targeted. What about those black people who have been targeted in multiple mass shootings? Or Muslims who have been targeted in multiple mass shootings? Or the Muslims that are, once again, being genocide while foreign governments fund said genocide? Like, what? Can you imagine if Muslims, after the Bondi Beach situation, if Muslims started tweeting out, yeah, man, we got to lock our mosques down. Yeah, we're praying for them. We're praying for those Jewish people who lost their lives due to prejudice and discriminatory violence. But we better lock our mosques down, man, because we're more important. Can you imagine if they said that? Every time somebody suffers, every time somebody gets shot, every time somebody loses a life, anytime it makes the news, I don't know how these Zionists somehow managed to make it about them. I think somebody coined the phrase, they said they called it Israeling. You got Israeled. You thought this disaster, this tragedy is about you? No, sir. It's about Israel. It's about Zion. It's about Jews. Look at Laura Loomer. Yo, this woman is bad shit. She is bad shit. Duh. Look at this is just one of the tweets. Muslims made me their enemy when they silenced me and worked to debunk me for 10 effing years. No apology, no compensation, no efforts to resolve anything. They screwed with me, so now I'm going to make sure the entire world is anti-Islam. I hate Islam and always will. If you or I tweeted something like that about Jewish people, I'm sure y'all have seen the examples. I'm not even going to pull it up because I don't want to get blocked off of YouTube, but people just got killed, likely for being Muslim. And her response to that event, one of them, we're going to show a couple. One of her response to that is, yeah, man, so I hate all Muslims. She doesn't even refer to what she's discussing. And we all know that literally Laura Loomer has been institutionalized because she's a psychopath. So it's very possible she made all that up in her head. One second, y'all. So I genuinely do not know if that, because this is Laura Loomer. So if she can use the excuse that Muslims were attacking her and make herself the center of attention in that way, I don't, usually she would do it. She would take advantage of that opportunity, and she has not. She didn't even take advantage of it in that tweet. Unless I'm missing something. Unless I missed it. No, I'm not crazy. Yeah, she didn't say anything about it. We're like, I see dead people. Like, that's what you on right now, Laura. You are crazy. You felt, look, okay. So what did I just get done saying? Muslims get killed. Therefore, I, Zionist Jewish person, am the victim. What is this tweet? The embodiment of exactly what I just said. Muslims made me their enemy when they silenced me and worked to debate me for 10 years. No apology, no compensation, no effort to resolve anything. They screwed with me. I'm the victim. Not those people who just got killed for being Muslim, no doubt. I'm the victim. It's me. Once again, y'all. They don't put any effort into it. There's no way. You think that they have this much of a gap in their self-awareness? Like, is their self-awareness that freaking bad, bro? Shout out to Christian. What's going on, man? Thank you for the super chat. Just some food for thought. Muslims got shot. They didn't lock down all of Sobi. Oh, yeah. But had it been some small hats, the response would have been different. Absolutely. 100%. In light of the Islamic Center shooting day, she's joking. She's telling a joke right now, y'all. I think it's time to make sure Muslims are safe. The best way to ensure their safety is for our DHS Secretary Mark Wayne, Muslim Senator Mullen, to deport every Muslim in America back to the Middle East, as if all Muslims live in the Middle East. Jesus Christ. That is, I can't even tell y'all how off that is. But whatever. Where they can live in fully Islamic societies. Once again, can't really express to y'all just how far off that is. And blast their call to prayer without triggering Americans into psychosis as a side effect of having their non-Islamic habitats disrupted by invasive species. Let's make sure Muslims are safe. Send them back to the Middle East. Once again, they're like, Indonesia is full of Muslims. India is full of Muslims. The Caribbean is full of Muslims. Africa obviously is full of Muslims. But okay, Middle East, because that's the only word you know. Or like, what? Y'all, this woman is a like everybody that I know who isn't a Zionist probably knows at this point that they have banned people from X for far less. And yet somehow Laura Loomer, man, and people like her, she said this is a false flag meant to gain sympathy for Muslims. Like, what? I think the genocide has done a good enough job with that. Maybe it's time for you to accept your violent rhetoric has actually influenced people to carry out horrendous acts. And anyone who speaks the way that she does and has spoken the way that she does on X, every time she posts, she's violated like 90% of the community guidelines. Anyone else who posts like that, suspended. Anyone who posts like that about Zionists, especially in generalizing about Jews, good God, don't do that. Suspended. Tweet won't go out, or you'll get shadow banned. The list goes on. But Laura Loomer gets boosted. And then if somebody makes a suggestion that Zionists control all media and all social media, and that's what they're buying, now they're conspiracy theorists. But Laura Loomer still has all of her social media accounts. Is it a conspiracy? Is it conspiracy theory, or is it conspiracy for real? At that point, probably the latter. So everybody, our guest has finally joined us. I would like for you all to welcome to the show, Dr. Ron. Hey man, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Thank you for joining the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give the audience a little bit? Can you give the audience a little bit about your background?
Sure. I'm an emergency room doctor. I live in Maryland and I trained at Johns Hopkins. And during the pandemic, I was very active in my community and in the state of Maryland. I had owned an urgent care center at the time, and we became sort of the largest testing site in the area, and we went from one site to 8 sites very, very quickly within a few months because of the need, because we were providing a service that really wasn't available anywhere else. So we grew very, very quickly from like 6 employees to over 300 at the height of the pandemic. And
Wow.
yeah, and we started to supply monoclonal antibodies, which really represented the cure for COVID. So for those of you that don't really know what that means, if you imagine like the COVID virus looks like a tennis ball, okay? And there's all the little hairs coming off on the tennis ball. Um, your body would produce antibodies to each of those hairs, and it would latch on and bind it up so that it couldn't infect you. So what the drug manufacturers do is they basically find the most efficacious, the best antibody that binds up the most of those virus particles, and they take that single antibody and they reproduce it billions and billions and billions of times. And it comes in a little vial, and you just you put it in some saline and you infuse it in somebody's arm like an IV drip over about 30 minutes, and it cures them of their COVID right then and there. It's miraculous.
So
And then just
this
so
was a
you
treatment that existed before COVID even came about, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yes, that's what I was just going to say.
Gotcha.
Thank you for bringing that up. This was not experimental. This technology, this monoclonal antibody technology, has been around since the 70s, and we use it in medicine
Mm.
to treat all sorts of things, from cancer to autoimmune diseases to infectious diseases. So it's been around forever. Well, I mean, 40 or 50 years, and it's incredible. And I was on the news talking about this stuff at least once a week, if not twice a week, about how wonderful this was and how we were curing people. And we became the largest supplier in the state of Maryland and probably in the entire mid-Atlantic region. So all the states in this area, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, we were the largest.
And
And
what year was this?
this
I know
was
you said it
in,
was in. Gotcha.
and the feds actually approached me and said, hey, very early on, they said, you've already set up a couple of these sites. You're good at this. Can you open up a site for us? Because we can't do it. And I said, sure. So we opened up a site at FedEx Field, where the Washington football team, now known as the Commanders, but then the Redskins, played football. So I did it in partnership with my company, HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Maryland Department of Health. And what we did there became the model for every monoclonal infusion site going forward in the entire country. And
Wow.
it was very successful. We were treating thousands of people with this stuff, and it was truly game changing. I mean, people would come in the color of my shirt because they were so short of breath. And in 30 or 40 minutes, when you drip this infusion in, they wouldn't be 100% better, obviously, but they would be on their way to, and they would walk out. They would have to be wheelchaired in, and they were able to walk out. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my entire career in medicine. And I was on the news talking about it and saying this stuff is great. Why are we only talking about this vaccine? We have a cure. Why is the vaccine
Mm-hmm.
the only thing the government was willing to talk about? And they made it so
Thinking that you were
difficult.
engaging in common sense, right? Like, I don't know
Well,
why we're
right,
trying
right,
to.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
And they made it.
why are we spending billions of dollars when we already have the solution right here, guys?
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper. And it's one and done. So you got your infusion, and you were cured right then and there, and it's a one-time thing. And it was so quick. It was 30 minutes. Anyway, I was talking about, why are we not making this the mainstay of treatment? And why are they making it so difficult and onerous to get? We became the largest
Mhm.
supplier, not because I'm some genius, although I like to think I am, of course, but but because the government made it so hard to get, and we made it easy for people to get. So we kind of bypassed that and said, well, we're going to set up our own stuff, and we're going to do this on our own. And we did, and we became the largest supplier in the entire state very quickly, surpassing Johns Hopkins, the University of Maryland, like major academic institutions that you would
Mm.
expect to be, doing this right and left, but they weren't. So
Uh, I graduated from UNC and I saw how political it can get. So yeah,
oh
you would
yeah,
expect that, but when
yeah.
you're talking about federal grants, people's, I'll just tell you a brief story. My friend was going to be an atmospheric scientist, and he was actually going to do his doctoral thesis on HARP, and his advisor told him no. He was like, "Why? Like, you don't think it'll be a good?" He said, "No, I think you would do amazing, but I want you to be able to get a job after this."
Yeah.
I was
No,
like, "Yep, I told you," and he thought I was playing when I was like, "No, bro, everything is wrapped up in money. They will not let you
it's
tell the
it's
truth."
it's unbelievable. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's horrible. So I'm out there, beating the drum about how great this stuff is, and giving it to people and curing them and saving people's lives. Literally, like, I mean, it's not hyperbole. We were actually saving people's lives.
Hmm.
And uh, the Biden administration did something very, very curious. They really made it difficult for people to get, and they made it even harder for people to get because they politicized it. And by that I mean they
Yep.
first, it was a multi-step approach. First, the way you would work to get the medicine was the state would authorize you as a supplier. So Maryland authorized me as a supplier. So they gave me a PIN number, and I would log into the distributor's website once a week, and I would say I'm going to need 300 doses for the week of whatever medicine I wanted. I have a whole list to choose from, and I would choose what I wanted. And literally the next day, I'd get a package, a refrigerated package from FedEx on my doorstep with whatever medicine I asked for. No problem, no shortage. So then the administration said, we are going to take over distribution. We're going to federalize the distribution, and we are going to be in charge of who's going to get it.
For why? Did they give a reason as to why they were doing
No,
that?
no. And
Of course
literally
not.
the next day, literally, you asked for 100 doses, you were lucky if you got 60 doses. And it just so
What?
happened that because Maryland's a very blue state, as you probably know, we were able to get most of what we asked for, but there were red states that were completely basically cut off, including Florida,
Oh
which
yeah,
was
I believe it. But Florida
really
was one of the states that was
horrific.
able to get. What was the other one that they were using to treat? The one that treats parasites too.
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin. Yeah, in Florida they
Yeah,
were
and
able to get
hydroxychloroquine.
ivermectin, whereas blue states weren't able to get it.
Yeah, that's right. But so they basically cut off all these states, and then they said we're going to start now using equity as a means to determine distribution of this medicine. And I was like, what the hell
Equity.
does that
How,
term
how, how
even
do you
mean?
mean?
And that's what they said. I don't know. I don't know what that term even means, but
Oh,
that's what they
okay. It
said.
just invented a
Well,
metric.
DEI, right? They wanted to throw out equity, and they said we're going to use this as a term to determine now where this medicine will go. And that's, to my knowledge, the first time in the history of the world, or certainly in the United States, that something other than need has been a predetermining factor to where a life-saving, I want to stress that word, life-saving medicine would be sent.
Hmm.
So it wasn't the doctor saying, "Oh my God, I have 3 patients here who are dying. I need this medicine." It was some government official saying, "Well, it's not equitable to send it there, so we're not going to send it there." And just to put this into context, Florida is the most at-risk state with the most at-risk population because it has the highest age, median age, right? With those
True.
people all have comorbidities, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, all these things that we knew put you at higher risk of dying from COVID. And they
Hmm.
cut the state off,
I remember.
basically consigning all those people to die.
As soon as I
So
learned about that treatment, they cut it. It was like, I was like, hold up, wow, this treatment could be. Oh, okay, we don't have it. Why don't we have
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Literally, it
exactly.
happened at all at the same time.
So they basically said we're not going to give it to Florida. So Ron DeSantis, the governor at the time, I guess he's still governor for a little bit longer. He actually used Florida taxpayer dollars to go out and purchase it on the open market. So he went directly to the manufacturers and said, "I will
Hmm.
take my," but the government said you can't do that. He said, "Screw it, I'm doing it anyway." The federal government said you can't do that.
Yeah, I
So he
remember.
took Florida taxpayer dollars and went to the drug manufacturers and bought it on his own. Despite the fact the feds had ample supply, they just would not give it to him, which is just
Which is
unconscionable
crazy.
because people died because of that. I guarantee you.
Oh,
Then
100%.
to make it even worse, the Biden administration comes out at the end of 2021 and says publicly, "We're shutting the whole program down." And I went on Fox News and I went on Newsmax and a bunch of other right-leaning sort of news media. And I said, they are going to kill people. This is terrible. They
Mhm.
don't know what they're doing. They're misreading the data, because they said that there was a surge of the Omicron variant at the time. And
I remember
this
that.
is this
Yeah,
is what they said. Okay.
that's
So
what
it's
it.
not,
Yeah, but also that
they
still
said
wouldn't
that,
make any sense because there might have been a surge of the Omicron variant, but did that mean that the antibodies couldn't have helped?
well, you
The
you hit the nail on the head. So that's what they said, right? They said, well, the antibodies that we have don't work against Omicron. So once the threshold of 70% prevalence of Omicron is reached, we're going to shut the program down. And they said, oh, it's been reached, so we're shutting the program down. I said, you're crazy. You're misreading the data, and you don't know what you're doing, and people are going to die. And I said that on Fox News. And it turns out I was right, because 2, 3, or 4 weeks later, I can't remember, but whatever it was, they said, oh, we were mistaken. Then they never apologized, but they said
They say it
we
quietly.
misread.
They always say that part
We
quietly, don't they?
Yeah, they said we, quote, misread the data. Now, believe it or not, this is what they said. They said the actual prevalence wasn't 70%, it was 20%. Now,
That's what we call negligence.
well,
I mean,
exactly.
it was a
So
lie, but that's
it's
negligence. That's
either gross incompetence or negligence, or some other nefarious intent, or a mixture of those two. But I think those are the only two things that this possibly could be. Right now, it is the federal
hmm
government, so I will say that gross incompetence and negligence is certainly possible.
that's the
But
worst part, right? It's like
yeah,
it's
I
very
know.
possible that it was incompetence, but given Fauci, given the intent to hide so much information, so much data, processes, and all that good stuff, that's where it looks like it was negligence or purposeful deceit, right?
And
That's why
I,
that's why I lean more towards that.
no, I agree with you, and I'll tell you, it's even worse than that. So I didn't really real. I suspected this at the time, but I've subsequently found out that, per Secretary Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, he said on Joe Rogan's podcast and on Megyn Kelly's podcast, he publicly said that there's a little known federal law that if there's an emergency use authorization given for a vaccine, and um, for a viral illness, and there's something else proven to be efficacious against that disease process, the vaccine loses its emergency use authorization.
Yep, I did know
So
that.
that's
I learned that
why
early on.
that's why they had to beat up ivermectin. That's why they had to beat up hydroxychloroquine. And I would argue that monoclonal antibodies were way more efficacious than either of those two medications. And that's why they had to
hmm
put down the. And by the way, they allowed us to start infusing again, but very quickly, those products were taken off the market. You can't get them anymore. You can't get
At
monoclonal
all?
antibodies for COVID anymore. There's one, and it's only for use in very, 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 very specific situations. So you
Mm.
really, they took the whole thing away.
Oh, because they're still trying to make money
Which,
off the vaccines, right? They already spent the money. The government already
correct.
gave
The
them the money.
vaccines,
Yeah.
to that point, vaccines make a ton of money for the manufacturers, because Project Warp Speed was all funded by the taxpayer, but yet the drug manufacturers got to keep 100% of the profits. Big Pharma
Yeah.
is making billions off of vaccines, but they make very, very little off of monoclonal antibodies, which is why
Yep.
they didn't really care. The drug manufacturers didn't really care.
My
But it's
cousin,
unconscionable, because this works.
go ahead.
No, I'm saying the medicine works. It cures people. Like,
Yeah.
and they
And
took it
it's
off the
cheap.
market,
You
and
would
it's cheap.
assume that, especially under Trump first, when 'cause he was the one who passed Operation Warp Speed. I know people like to gloss over that little fact, but it's true. And he was
Yes.
proud of it, and to this day he's still proud of it for whatever reason. But you would assume that the government would want to save money and save lives. And when you have a drug that can basically do both of those things, why would you go out of your way to create the necessity to spend money that you didn't need to spend?
Yeah.
Wow, we have to put this in context, right? They were simultaneously arguing with the American public about how they didn't want to give us our money to survive because of mandates that they created.
I know it's
But hey,
like
man, we have no problem giving billions of your money to these pharmaceutical companies that don't even need it.
it defies logic, and it defies sort of any sense of rational
Is
thought.
it
It
is
really just does.
my cousin left Moderna. She used to work for Moderna as a tech and a biotech. And I asked her like, what do you think about this vaccine stuff? Because this was right before she left. Because she was traveling a lot for them. She's like, it's a problem. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, because now they're paying this vaccine. It's paying everybody's bills. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it's paying everything now. It's paying for everything.
Yeah.
We've hired way
Yeah.
more people. We've opened up more labs. I'm like, this vaccine and what were y'all doing before? She was like, we've always had products, we've always gotten money from, but we've never gotten this type of infusion of money from the government before. It is now paying people's bills, which means they will not stop.
Right.
And she ended up leaving a couple months later when she realized like is how bad it was and she could secure another job. But yeah, she said
But
it's
good
paying
for
everybody's
her.
bills.
Yeah. So,
That's problematic. Yeah,
it's very problematic. And they basically took this life-saving medication away, which just is unconscionable. First, they took it away from people who really needed it acutely, and then they took it away long term. Um,
exactly.
and I can
Without
guarantee
giving a
you,
reason.
and I can guarantee you, people died because of it. I mean, there's no question about it. There's no question in my mind that probably thousands of people, if not millions of people, or at least hundreds of thousands, worldwide, certainly, and certainly in the United States, are dead or needed to be hospitalized because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
100%.
So I say this on Fox News, the end of 2021, and 4 months later, with no warning, I get charged with federal healthcare fraud charges. And the government got my name wrong on all the charging documents. They really had done no investigation
That's
to the point,
crazy.
Nico. I know, but you can't make this stuff up. To the point where the chief federal judge of Maryland, who was adjudicating my case in a pretrial conference, even said to the prosecution, he said, "My God, this case looks like a case of quote, shoot first and ask questions later." That's the judge that said that to
The
the
judge.
prosecution. The judge said that in a pretrial
What
conference. So I take
was it?
it to
Summary
trial.
judgment? Nothing. Did you get summary judgment?
No, no, I mean, because he was limited to what he could do.
Ah,
Um,
got you.
they still were free to charge me, but I mean, they can charge you for whatever they want. It's insane.
Hmm.
But there was no evidence.
They're not. It's
I
not
didn't do
supposed to work
anything wrong.
like that. But yeah,
No, of
generally
course not.
speaking, if they want to, they can leverage their power in that way. Yeah.
So I take it to trial because I did nothing wrong. And the same judge, the chief judge of the state of Maryland, who was appointed by President Obama, by the way, so he's not some right wing, you know, judge, issues this opinion right here I have in my hand, 93 pages, okay, 93 pages of
Wow.
acquitting me, saying that there was no evidence, that essentially that the case should never have been brought in the first place. And in
Mm.
case the government appeals, granting me a new trial. Now, just to put this into perspective for your listeners, now I'm not a lawyer, but I was told that this kind of thing never ever happens. And the Supreme Court doesn't write 93-page opinions. So the fact
No,
that he wrote this
you're
much
absolutely correct. I was
is
going to
like,
say that 93 pages
the
is
guy
crazy.
spent a ton of time on this, right? And he said such things. I just want to read you a couple quotes. He said, "The evidence weighs so heavily in favor of the defendant, that's me, that it would be unjust to enter judgment against him. The government did not carry its burden, and no reasonable jury could have so concluded." I mean, it's 93 pages of that, right? Of
Mm.
just on and on and on. He can't come out and say, "Hey, government, you
Just
suck."
like
But
since y'all
he
wasting my
basically,
time, here's 93 pages of my opinion wasting y'all's time. Okay.
right. So he quits me. Happiest day of my life, by the way. It's not the day that I got married, and unfortunately, it's not the day that I had my 4 children. It's the day that some stranger issued this 93-page opinion. And that's kind of sad, but it's true because like I was just miserable for 3 years when I was going through all this. Like they completely
Also,
ruin your life.
your judge set a precedent now.
Yes, yes.
That which is like on the record, which is actually a big deal. So it's almost better that your case didn't get dismissed initially. Did you try to go for a dismissal at the beginning?
Well, my lawyers kept saying we need a reason for that, and lack of evidence isn't really a reason. I don't really understand all that, but I had to
Oh
go with
yeah,
what my
lack of
lawyers were
evidence.
telling me.
Yeah, because they have to prove that the evidence is actually. Yeah, technically speaking, lack of evidence isn't a reason. Some people use that but it's usually just jurisdictional issue or something to
Right,
that
right.
extent.
Or like,
Process
prosecutorial
wasn't done
misconduct or
correctly.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, but it's good that it went to
Um,
trial because now there's federal precedent saying like this is nonsense. Somebody trying to do their job as a doctor does not warrant a accusation of fraud. That's ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. And then, well, so just to add to even more to this now, as they're packing up their bags, the Biden Department of Justice, literally, they're boxing up their offices because Trump's about to come into office. They
Mhm.
decide to appeal it. So now I'm facing a new
The
trial.
hold up, Biden's office, the Biden's Justice Department.
The, yep, they appealed so they appealed this 93-page opinion. So now I'm facing a new trial, and I'm trying to get in touch with somebody in the Trump administration, and specifically Todd Blanche, who's the acting attorney general, to say this is insane. This should stop. This was clear weaponization. I mean, even the chief judge said this, basically said that in this 93 pages. So
Mm-hmm.
President Trump, on his day one in office, said we're going to end weaponization of the government, and here's the memo that was issued, and the bottom, they outlined like a bunch of different types of people that they wanted to stop these cases, and what the bottom one here, the last one, number 7, is for whistleblowers, and I would argue that I'm exactly that.
Yeah.
I was a subcontractor for HHS. I went into business with them, and I blew the whistle publicly, and I said, "You guys are going to kill people. You don't know what you're doing." And they retaliated with me, vindictive and selective prosecution. Nobody else has been prosecuted for what they came after me for. Nobody. So I'm the first.
Really?
Even on their website, this is the DOJ press release, and I highlighted it. Dr. Elfenbein is the first doctor uh, at trial by the Justice Department for healthcare fraud in billing for office visits in connection with patients during the COVID-19 uh, years.
That's interesting because I feel like there were so many doctors that obviously were persecuted in various ways, shut down off social media,
Hmm.
attacked, but it was very rare that any of them actually had the opportunity to end up on mainstream media and explain exactly how the government was wrong in carrying out its policies, and then providing the alternative and saying, "I know because they hired me to do this to solve the problem.
That's
I solved it.
and
They
I
knew I
guess I did
solved
too
it."
good a job. I guess I did too good a job.
Yeah,
Uh,
but that's rule number one when you work for the government. I was in the military, so I know the worst thing you could be in the military is innovative and intelligent.
and
Don't do
effective,
that.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
effective. Don't be that because
yeah.
they're all about hurry up and wait. So I was a person that was like, well, there's not a more efficient way for us to get this job done. Whoa, House. That's Article 19. Like,
Yeah. Shut your
don't be out
mouth.
here asking questions like that, making us look ridiculous. My commander loved it. He loved me, and my sergeant major ended up loving it too. But my actual sergeant, no, we had problems all the time because I would ask simple questions. And it's the same thing while you're working
Yeah.
for the government. The moment that you present, they hire you. And I have another friend who works in risk assessment, risk management for basically for the job industry, and she was going to get a contract with the government, and basically she was too good at her job, and one of her biggest competitors was Equifax,
Uh-huh.
and Equifax is obviously tied into the government.
Yeah,
So
of
some
course.
things went down. I can't really get into the details of it, and they actually stole her software. Like, and the government let them do it too, because she was exposing like waste that was easily resolvable, like waste as far as money's concerned, for that the government was
Hmm.
wasting. And whenever you can expose something like that via an audit and you can do so consistently, you go from being an asset to a problem. Because what if you decide to tell people?
Yeah.
So then Equifax gets the deal. Yeah,
It's
it
it's
was
it's
nuts.
it's
It was
crazy.
nuts.
And you know what really is irritating? I mean, the whole thing is very irritating, but like you see all of this fraud that's being perpetrated, that's being uncovered now, that the Biden administration did nothing to go after, yet they came after me.
Hmm.
And just so your listeners understand, you know, healthcare fraud is typically involves billing for patients that we call ghost patients that don't actually exist. You read about all these people who billed for millions and millions of dollars for patients that weren't there, that they made up, or that didn't need these services, et cetera, et cetera. Like no one has alleged that in my case. Like these are actually, they charged me with 5 counts on it. This is crazy. 5 counts, okay,
What were the? Can you
of
give? I was going to ask. Do you? If I know you're not a lawyer, but do you like? Can you give it the specifics of the
yeah.
counts?
So
Like,
I mean, I
how are they
can I can.
claiming
So
you engaged in fraud?
so these are the 5 counts of patients, okay? These are their charts. Their names have been redacted, but I hold their charts in my hand. These are real human beings. They were all seen. In fact, 3 of them, I don't know why, it's mystifying to me, but the government called 3 of them at trial, and they all raised their right hand and said, I'm a real human being. I was tested, I was seen, I was evaluated. I'm like, where's the fraud? So what they said was that in the time frame of the indictment, okay, we saw over 100,000 people. They chose 5, and they
Mhm.
never even had a professional coder or biller
At
look at those
random,
5
by the way,
charts.
because what's actually supposed to happen in that particular case is they're supposed to count every single count or do a class action.
Well, and they're supposed to have a professional look through the charts too, which they never did.
Yep.
They just had a government attorney. So what does the government attorney know about billing and coding? Nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You
So
both exactly. Hold up. So they
it's
didn't have a professional testify against you?
no, no. They
That
had,
is
well,
highly irregular.
they had a guy who was a quote unquote expert in Medicare, but he was not a biller or a coder. What they alleged was that we were our billing code that we chose was wrong on these five patients. Okay, out of over 100,000 that we saw during that time frame, and just to put this into perspective, we were billing what's called a level four. The difference between a level four and the next lowest level would be a level three is on average about $50. Okay,
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to
50
ask.
times five is $250. So the government is essentially trying to throw me in jail for 50 years, 50 over a $250 billing dispute. Now, all they had to do, if this was really about billing, was like any normal human being would do, is pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hey, we don't understand." Like if you go to the store and you buy a can of soda and you think they overcharge you, do you call the federal government or do you say, "I think you overcharged me"?
Yeah, I think you overcharged
Like
me, man. Can I
it's
go ahead and bring
of
this back?
course any reasonable person would have done that, but they're charging me with 50 years in jail, millions of dollars in restitution over five patients that they said we chose the wrong billing code on, which by the way, there are over 69,000 billing codes to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Did it? But and also, were they able to prove even that you chose the wrong billing code?
No, a great point. So the only you asked a good question a minute ago. You said, didn't they have an expert testify? The only billing and coding expert that testified at trial was by me. I hired him, and my team hired him. I didn't hire him. My lawyers did, but he was the past president of the American Association of Professional Coders, and this
Mm.
guy looked at hundreds of charts, not just these five, not just these. He looked at hundreds of them, and he said all of the coding was accurate and good, and he said some of them actually have been slightly undercoded. And that was the only
Like you were
coding
giving
expert that
discounts.
testified at trial. Oh, yeah, basically, yeah. And by the way, I didn't see any of these patients. I was the medical director. I was running around. I didn't even see these people. We had nurse practitioners and PAs who worked for me who saw the patients. So it's like,
And
how
they
can they
didn't talk. And they
possibly?
didn't come after any of them. Only you, the
No.
director.
And to make it even more crazy, the American Medical Association, I'm not even a member of the AMA, but the AMA came to my defense and issued what's called an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court brief. And they said that basically that Dr. Elfenbein didn't break the rules. What's remarkable about that is that the people who write the AMA is the one who writes the rules. So the AMA issues the coding guidelines, and they said he didn't even break the rules. So the AMA came to my defense, and the government is still coming after me. The people who write the damn rules that the government's accusing me of breaking said I didn't break the
You're fine.
rules. Like you
So,
cannot make this stuff up.
so let me ask you. So let me ask you a question. So at the stage you're at right now, the government is waiting to hear if their appeal will be heard. Correct? That, like
No, 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 no. It's a new trial.
the
I'm facing a
appeal
new
was
trial.
successful.
Yes, yes,
That is ridiculous. You know how hard it is to
yes.
get an appeal?
So the appeal was successful, and I don't understand how or why. Nor do my attorneys, nor do a lot of legal scholars. They're all asking like, this doesn't make any sense.
I'm
The
not a
opinion
legal
just doesn't make any
look. I'm
sense.
not a legal scholar. I don't claim to be. I was a paralegal. You know, I've studied law because I was going to go to Harvard to be a lawyer. I changed my mind last minute, but to do this. However, I do know enough to know like it's like 7% of all appeals get heard, and because of the burden of proof, and
Well,
to it's so
it's
ridiculously high to
it's
have an
because
appeal be
this
heard.
it's because this was so unusual, and in this district, all appeals get heard. In the Fourth Circuit Court, all appeals get heard. They all get oral arguments,
Man, that
regardless
sounds like a
of
very unique Maryland ass issue. That sounds like a
yes.
Maryland
So,
DMV type of
but
situation.
even the Fourth Circuit, okay, even their opinion said that my interpretation of the coding rules was quote reasonable, but the government's still free to come after you criminally, which basically means that like if you take this you file your taxes and you could say, well, what you did was totally reasonable and makes perfect sense, but you know what, we're going to charge you criminally because we disagree with you. That's what the opinion
Yeah,
says. Like who thinks that's okay? In
that
what
is
world does that make any
nuts.
sense?
That's gotta be.
So
Is that so? Hold on. Is that a Maryland thing or is it just that district all appeals are
it's
heard?
the Fourth Circuit, so it involves Maryland. I forget what states
Oh,
it's
First
in,
Circuit.
but
Excuse me,
four or
not
five
district.
states. Yeah, no, it's okay.
That
um
is crazy. That's
yes.
also a huge waste of taxpayer money
Completely. I
because
mean, it's already been
appeals are
adjudicated, right?
complicated.
And it's already been adjudicated. The chief judge issued this opinion and said that there was no evidence. He sat through every single day of trial. He conducted the trial and he was like, there's nothing here. This case is nonsense. So, why are we going through this? So I am trying to find somebody in the Trump administration, specifically acting Attorney General Blanche, to say this needs to go away. This is crazy. As you said, like it's already been adjudicated. It's crazy. It's a waste of money. Why are we doing this?
Why hasn't RFK said anything about this? Given that you're the first one to be tried in these circumstances and prosecuted, and you won already, and I thought these type of cases was why he became part of the Trump administration to help resolve, to guide him in the right direction, to make sure that the Justice Department wasn't attacking people
Yeah.
really for calling the government out on their COVID policies. Has he reached out? Have you tried to reach out to his team?
I've tried to get a hold of him. Part of the problem is it's like, it's a bureaucracy, and trying to get a hold of somebody is not easy. So
Of
I
course,
think, look, if Donald Trump knew about this, Donald Trump, by the way, benefited from monoclonal antibodies. He's one of the first people in the entire
I
country to get
remember.
them in his first term, and he cured him. So if he understood what was going on with my case, I think he'd be like, this is crazy. Drop this case immediately. Let this guy go. But it's like the right hand has no idea what the left hand is doing, and there's just this bureaucratic mess between the two, and getting them together is not easy. And the Biden
Yeah.
people knew what they were doing. They started the snowball kind of rolling down the hill right before they left, and it's hard to get somebody to stand in front of that snowball and stop it and say, we're going to stop this. It just sort
And
of keeps
doing it
going.
in a circuit where they knew their appeal would be heard, like it was just
Yes,
like, yeah, we're just gonna make you pay for this for the next 10 years, like for having the
exactly.
audacity for after you worked for us because we asked you to.
Yeah,
We asked
yeah,
you to work for us. Please resolve this issue for us. Yeah, you did too good of a job, and you were just supposed to let us. You're just supposed to forget about it. And a lot of doctors did do that. They knew what was happening was wrong, and they kept their mouths shut
yeah.
because they were worried that they would go through a similar experience that you're going through right now, which says that is, in my opinion, scary for society, for our future, especially as we see chemicals in food causing more and more problems, like chronic issues that no one wants to
Yeah.
really acknowledge. Like I guess we all acknowledge it, but it's something that people kind of push to the back burner, but they know it's happening. We know that these vaccines, no one ever actually wants to address this issue. But I don't know if you've seen this ridiculous rise in random people dying from
Oh
cardiac
yeah.
issues. Every day on Facebook, it seems my friend is speaking about another friend of ours, like or an acquaintance of mine from high school. Yeah, just died out of nowhere. Well, we are 36, 37 years old. What do you mean died out of nowhere? They
Well,
don't
it's
know it was
it's
a heart
it's
issue.
it's not just anecdotal. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's not just
No,
anecdotal.
go
It's not
ahead.
just these one-offs. If you look at the best place to find this data is actuarial data from life insurance companies, because the life
Hmm.
insurance companies are having to make massive payouts for all these young people, to your point, who are dying that aren't supposed to be dying. I mean, there's a certain percentage, and they track this. That's how they make their money. These people that do this for a living, they're called actuaries, and they look at this data. Like that's what they study. I mean, it's crazy and morbid, but that's what they do. And they know that
Yeah.
over the course, if you're under 40, there's a certain percentage of people who are expected to die every year. Under 50, it's this and whatever.
Yeah.
That numbers are skyrocketing, and they can't
Yeah. If you
explain
took the
it, and it's
vaccine
hurting
and
their
haven't
bottom
taken out
line.
life insurance, that's a problem. Like you need to take out
Yeah,
life insurance.
yeah,
I'm so serious. Like, thank
absolutely.
God I didn't take the. I never was forced to take it because when I lived in Florida, too, I worked for myself, so I was good. But like the unfortunate reality is, my grandfather did take it. He was forced to take it because he lived in California. He was working throughout the pandemic as a security guard, and out of nowhere, towards like really, I would say towards the end of the pandemic, but in California, it was the height of the mandates. He had avoided, and then I BS you not. While he was getting his dialysis, they told him he needs to take it. So obviously, you
And
know
they
what the
wouldn't
problem
treat
with
him.
that being. If you have a heart problem, you're not supposed to take the vaccine.
Right.
The nurse should have known that, and instead, they were telling patients, "You can't get the dialysis if you don't take the vaccine because
Right.
now you're endangering other patients,"
Which makes no sense when you think
which
about it,
makes
because
a
I mean, that logic was one of the things I was talking about on television, because it's like, okay, if I'm standing next to you and you choose, let's say I got vaccinated and you didn't, okay,
mhm.
what difference does it make to me if you're vaccinated or not? I'm supposed to be safe because I got vaccinated. So why would I care if you
Exactly.
got vaccinated or not? The logic just
It
doesn't make any sense.
it was, yeah, like, and anytime you would question that, they would say, "Oh, you just want people to die." I'm like,
Right, right.
no. I actually want the opposite, which is why I'm questioning your logic. And unfortunately, my grandfather got 1 round. He didn't even get to the second dose. He died less than 36 hours later, right after work at the gas station
Heart attack.
with no help. After like maybe a week prior, I had just talked to my grandma. And they were like, "Yeah, your grandpa's actually doing fantastic. You know, everything is good, doing well. He's actually going. He was going to dialysis before he was having to go 3 times a week because he was a smoker, and they cut it back to 2 times a week. He was doing great. Got a great clean bill of health. And my grandma told him, "Don't take that vaccine." And he was like, you know, he's like one of the older guys, like, "Man, they won't stop bugging me about it. Can I just take it and just get it over with?" And my grandma was like, "No, don't do it." And they told him, "You can't do your dialysis if you don't take this vaccine." So there would have to be a whole thing for him to, you know, because he's on the schedule, have to get it rescheduled. It didn't work with the calendar that he was on, and well, whatever. Just go ahead and give it to me. I don't want to deal with all this. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, the worst part was when he died. My grandma wanted an autopsy. They were like, "Nope." She was like, "Well, then give me the death certificate. I'll go get a private one." Nope. They refused to give her the death certificate for a month and a half. And obviously, at that point, when they finally do decide to give it to her, it's very difficult to tell what was the original. They could just say it was, you know, something to do with the heart, and you can't. At that point, you can't really
Yeah.
check the body to figure out with 100% certainty or even 50% certainty that it was in fact the vaccine. And they knew what they were doing. And so guess who had to pay to keep him in the mortuary for a month and a half? Because you can't do anything without a what?
Right.
Without a death certificate. So we paid thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands actually, because we couldn't cremate him and we couldn't bury him because we didn't have the death certificate. And we couldn't get an autopsy to prove that it was a vaccine. And the nurses, you know, they didn't even want to confirm that they gave it to him, even though we knew because my grandpa called my grandma right after. But yeah, it's insane what the world went through during the pandemic and how we all went through this global. The only thing that it can be described as is gaslighting. Like it's like the levels of gaslighting we experience is like unlike anything we've ever seen, maybe up until this Iran war. And instead of holding the right people accountable, they are going after people like yourself who literally save lives.
Yeah, I know. It's mind-boggling to me. And then like you look at like, you know, people make such a big to do about the Epstein issue, and like again, the same people, the Biden people had those documents for years, did nothing with it, didn't prosecute a single child molester or murderer or any of these people that did horrible things, and yet they came after, they used their resources to come after me, to shut me up. I mean, like it's just amazing that they didn't go after these real fraudsters, and they didn't go after like, you know, people like this these Epstein people, but yet they come after someone
Mm-hmm.
like me. I mean, it's just
Yep.
mind-boggling and unconscionable, but that's what they do, and it's there's lots of
Are you
people
gonna
like me
are you
out
gonna
there.
attempt to sue them if once you come out the other side of this?
Well, I want to one thing at a time. I just want to get the hell this, you know,
I
away.
mean, I'm gonna assume that you're gonna come out of the other side is okay because 93 pages to explain. Yeah, y'all just wasted everybody's time. And if I could have thrown this out, I would have. But here's a whole 93 page explaining why y'all were full of shit. You know, generally
Yeah,
speaking, that is hard, which is
but
probably why and that's probably why they chose the circuit that they did. Because like I said, I can't, I don't know if it's close to 7% of all appeals like that are put in are actually heard because it's a very high bar to
yes.
achieve to have the
Eh,
to be considered to be heard at an appeal. Like it just doesn't happen. It's very rare
eh, eh,
unless you have a like nah. It's just a very very specific situation, like a jurisdictional issue that's being disputed. New evidence might be introduced, et cetera. Or no, you can't introduce new evidence, but like or a new angle wasn't considered, things like that. But this doesn't even seem like it would be justified to be heard in an appeal, which is why they chose this circuit, knowing that you didn't have a choice.
yeah. And the interesting thing is like the appeal really wasn't done on the grounds of evidence. It was done on, I mean, it was what you call it, like it was overturned or whatever you want to call it, on procedural grounds.
Yeah,
There really
that's the only way you
wasn't.
can
It
appeal
wasn't like
can
they were
work. They can't
commenting on the
use
evidence.
Yeah, they can't. So with appeal, unless there was like evidence, they found there was evidence withheld, like in some
Right.
unethical way, something like that. Generally, it can't be because of evidence. It has to be like at least evidence that was already introduced. It has to be jurisdictional, procedural, some nonsense like that. And what was the procedure that what was the procedure? What was the procedural
I
issue?
don't
What did they
even
say?
understand. I don't understand. It was 30, their opinion was 30 something pages, and I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Really, it makes no sense. And again,
Of
they
course,
said
because they have to
basically
come up with the reason. When
they
you
they
have to hear every
basically
appeal, eventually
well,
it's gonna you just the same
yeah.
bullshit, right? To justify.
They basically said that what I did was reasonable, but there's the government's still free to come after me. And by the way, in a criminal case, the government has to prove two elements of a crime. They have to prove that you committed an actual crime called falsity, and they have to prove that you had the intent to commit the crime. So the Fourth Circuit opinion basically said they only have to prove one of those arms, which is insane to me. For the entirety of modern history, legal precedent had said that there's two elements to every crime: there's falsity and there's intent. But now they said, well, they can prove intent through falsity, or they can prove falsity through intent. That'd be like saying,
That's
you say,
strange.
I'm going to go rob a bank. You text me and say, I'm going to go rob a bank, but you don't actually rob the bank. They can charge you with the crime because you texted me and said I was going to go rob the bank. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
how is that
no,
possible?
intent's a big part because that actually usually whenever they're giving you, see if they found you guilty, right? Part of the punishment would be involved in like your intentionality, like the
Right.
predetermination of
Right.
it. If it was an accident, like when you commit a crime of passion, for example, the odds of you getting charged with more years is less likely because it's a crime of passion and that wasn't
Right.
your intent.
Spur of the moment. Right. Right.
Exactly. So that's wow. That
I
is
know. And
yeah,
at
man.
trial,
I'm
do
sorry
you
you're
know what
dealing
they
with
put
all
up?
this.
Well, thank you. At trial, to prove my criminal intent, they put up my tax returns. And they were like, look how much money he made before the pandemic, and look how much money he made during the pandemic.
I
That's how
mean,
they
do
proved, and
they
he
mean
must be
after
doing
your
something
government
criminal.
contract that they gave you?
Well, just after we were seeing 300,000 people. I mean, and yes, the
Yeah, I
government
mean,
contract and everything else. It's like, okay, so like I'm not entitled to earn a living. Like, what? How does this
that's
prove anything? I
that's
mean, it's
ridiculous. Oh
literally
my
that's what they
god.
did.
I can't believe
And
I can't
and
believe the government is making that argument. Boy, what? Okay, let's look at Moderna before the pandemic and after the pandemic.
I know. And then so we talked about this coding issue. So they said they said you're wrong. You picked the wrong code. They never said how I was wrong. They never said why I was wrong, and they never said what the actual code should have been. They just kept pointing the finger at me and saying he's wrong and he's a criminal.
Oh
Literally, I'm not
man.
making this up. That's why the judge issued this 93-page opinion, because he saw through their bullshit. Excuse my language, but he did. And he was like, this is crazy.
Do you know who
Like,
the appeal judge would be? The appellate
well,
judge?
good question. So the same judge is supposed to adjudicate my new trial. But guess what? About 2 months ago or 3 months ago, he issues a one-line email to all of us and says, I'm recusing myself from the case.
Oh, he got a call.
I,
He got a
who
call.
knows, right?
That's even
But
scarier because that means he got a call while okay, so I don't know if you know how so our federal judge system is actually or well really all the judge system, the entire judge system, but specifically the part where federal judges is broken purposely. The reason why is so if you're a district judge, you get elected. So you have to be beholden to the people. Once you become a federal judge, you're selected. And so everything
right,
you do it becomes political. So if there is a chance, which if I'm not mistaken, it's a very real possibility that there is going to be some Supreme Court seats that open up soon because of death or retirement. There was I'm certain that somebody, hey bro, in Maryland judges like they're in the watchful eye of DC for obvious reasons, especially in a circuit where every appeal gets heard. I'm sure, and he's a chief. Hey bro, if you even want a chance, I suggest you sit back and let us put somebody but that's crazy to recruit himself with one line and not even explain
no
what his
explanation.
conflict of interest would be and why that conflict of interest wouldn't have been enough to recuse himself the first go around.
And
Because
he actually.
recuse can be denied.
Well,
So
and at the first scheduling conference, he basically made a joke. He said to the government, he said, "Oh, I guess guys are gonna want a bench trial, huh? A bench trial meaning no jury, just the judge."
mhm.
And he's like, "I'm just kidding, because he wrote this 93-page opinion." So, I mean, yeah, but like this is scary stuff. Like these people have a lot of reach and they have a lot of power and a lot of authority. And I think, look, this weaponization stuff is real. They did it to President Trump. They can do it to me. They can do it to you. They can do it to anyone who's listening to this. Like they can, I mean, they came at me with no evidence of a crime. I mean, literally no evidence. And they just ruined my life and my family's life. I have 4 kids. I have a wife who's a physician. Like this is now year 5 going on, dealing with this nonsense. And I,
They're
the
basically trying to make an
process
example
is
out
the
of you,
punishment.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. The process is the punishment. And you know what? God willing, this goes away, and I make make out of I come out of this on the other end whole and like a fine. But like, how do I get my reputation back? Right? I had a great
Yeah.
reputation. I was because of what I did during COVID. The governor of our state, Larry Hogan, personally came to one of my facilities and handed me a citation personally, saying, "For all your work that you did during COVID and your bravery and blah blah blah, I have it. It's a beautiful piece of paper." The state legislature, which is predominantly Democrat, by the way, in the state, also voted to give me a citation. And the state medical
Wow.
society named me its person of the year, even after I got indicted for all the work I did
What?
during COVID.
Well,
And
it
for
sounds
all
like you
that,
don't
the
need to get your
feds,
reputation back. It sounds like it's solidified,
well,
man.
I mean, it used to be. I think it's, trying to get privileges at hospitals is difficult. Trying to get, it's nearly impossible to go back to work. Like it's been a
Ah,
nightmare,
yeah.
and they
That
make it so
part,
hard.
that part is interesting because I mean, as you know, hospitals can be political too, right?
Yeah,
It's because it gets whether or not they are in the pockets of somebody else or if they don't want negative attention, negative media coverage. It's nah, that part is that's why I asked, like, if you come out the other side of this, are you going to sue? Because I imagine there are that type of stuff would prevent you from getting jobs and things like that. And God, Lord knows how much just legal fees that they're taking out of you just to waste your time. Because now,
well,
go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I was going to say, to your point, I have a website. It's called dropthecase.com. If people could go there, there is a give send go. And if people can afford, I mean, it's nearly bankrupted my family. So,
Dropthecase.com. I'm gonna put it in the chat right
yes,
now.
if people can go to that, I'd appreciate it. There's also, it's an outline of the timeline and there's a lot of information there. But if people can donate, I'd very much appreciate it. Because this has just been just one horrific thing after another. And I mean, I didn't sleep for 3 years. The first night I
I
got a good
believe
night's
it.
sleep literally was the night I got a call about this.
I
For the
believe
first
it. Well,
time in 3 years, I got to sleep. Like,
I'm hoping that justice and common sense will prevail this time. And as we say where I'm from, and after that happens, I hope that you get your get back. I hope that you get to take the
yeah,
government for
thank you.
everything they're worth, and that you can retire early. And much deserved retirement seems to be because this is it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and unfortunately, we've seen it happen all too often. Whether it be whistleblowers in the intelligence community, whistleblowers in politics. I was persecuted. I wasn't prosecuted, thank God, but I was persecuted for being a whistleblower, calling out the Hillary Clinton campaign for cheating. And same thing. All right, they weren't mad because I was wrong. They were mad because I was correct, and I
Right,
shouldn't.
right.
And that was the bigger problem. So, and I wouldn't shut up about it. So I completely understand. I wish you luck. I put so it's drop the case. I put it in the chat, and I'm going to put it in the description after. Let people know where else
Thank
they
you.
can follow you at to keep up with the case.
Yeah, thank you. Ron Elfenbein, MD on X. It's RonElfenbein, MD. It's at, that Ron Elfenbein, MD on X. And
Awesome.
I post all the time. So if people, yeah, and I'm on on my website, you can get in touch with me, please, like reach out. I'm happy to talk about it if anyone has any questions or anything. And again,
Great stuff.
this is something that happens to a lot of people. So um it's real. Like this exists, and they do it, and they know what they're doing. And just imagine yourself in that situation: the United States of America versus your name. Scariest proposition you could ever have. It's awful. They
Yeah.
don't need
And
evidence
when you have
to ruin your life.
especially when you've done everything right, everything by the book, and all you're doing is asking everybody else to do the same, especially the United States government, who should be more responsible for being responsible. Like, right? They
Right.
should be held to a higher
Yeah,
standard. And then you get
they should be.
they come after you for it. That's a scary position to be in. Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate you joining the show. I'm gonna go ahead and go on with the rest of the live stream, but y'all go follow him. Send me an email with your social so I can go ahead and post those in the description as well.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you
It's
and
been a
good luck.
pleasure. Thank you.
That is a crazy, crazy situation to be in, bro. I cannot imagine having to sit there and defend the work that you did on behalf of the government because the government is now trying to sue you for fraud. That is wild. Like, I knew that he was being sued by the government, but the part of the case I wasn't aware of is the fact that the government was the one that originally contracted him because of how good he was at his job. And because of his expertise, he could say pretty confidently, yeah, this is all wrong. Y'all doing this wrong. I don't know why y'all pretending like I'm stupid or I don't know what I'm doing because y'all hired me and I got all these rewards for being right about this. And now you're being prosecuted for fraud. It's waste your time o'clock. Thank you for playing. That is nuts. Y'all go to the website, donate, spread the word about this. I definitely don't see enough people talking about this. And I gotta say too, just from my personal political side of or from my personal opinion on the political side of the situation, I think that the bureaucracy is purposefully making it difficult for him to get in touch with RFK and Donald Trump because I think RFK doesn't want to touch it because he knows if he appeals to Donald Trump's not going to want to touch it. Why? Because obviously Dr. Ron, what he is saying cuts at the heart of Operation Warp Speed, and it makes Trump look like an oaf in a way that he can't then try to throw it on top of Biden and blame him and his administration for the way things were carried out. And so when RFK doesn't want to get on Trump's bad side, he pretends like he doesn't see it. That's the unfortunate reality of it. And it is disgusting, truthfully, just to watch RFK. It's the only case of its kind, and it's the first case of its kind. RFK's like he's in the position where he can be like, "Hey, man, y'all leave my dude alone." Like he's good, and doesn't say anything about it. This is a pattern that we have seen over and over again. You said a comment got deleted. I don't see anything. I haven't seen any comments deleted, but yeah, this is ridiculous, guys. Like we've seen this pattern over and over again with Trump's administration. People that were brought on for very specific roles, or they claim that they had very specific goals that they were trying to achieve when they got invited. And Trump himself claimed that he was bringing them on to fulfill those roles. Like, hey man, Cash, you said you wanna release the Epstein files? Come on, man. Now make it difficult as humanly possible to release those files. And don't say nothing. Appreciate you. RFK, man. JFK files, Health and Human Services. You ain't make sure our food's clean. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, you ain't gonna talk about none of that shit. Be quiet. Pam Bomb Deep, you know why you here. We know you gonna hold it down for Team Epstein. You did it once already. And it fire her anyway. Because she wasn't doing a good enough job at the job that she was hired to do. Which is protect him and insulate him from anything, all consequences having to do with Epstein. So, bruh, nuts. For the last part of the show, we gotta get into this Thomas Massie conversation, y'all. Because the way that the Epstein class is going after him is insane. We have literally, and this is not hyperbole, we have never seen so much money spent against a sitting congressman in the history of the United States in a primary race. They supposed to be on the same team. It's some scary stuff, y'all. So, this is, in my opinion, the reason they're going after him is obviously about the AIPAC stuff. obviously. But it's also about the Epstein stuff. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene, yeah, they went after her too, obviously. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, if she says something, her voting record, her rhetoric in the past, doesn't lend all that much credibility. Yeah, rah, rah. I'm glad you finally decided genocide was your red line. I appreciate you. Pretty low bar, but you were kind of a bigot and a neocon for a long time. That part is true, right? Like, I can commend her on her rhetoric in that regard. And I can commend her for wanting to release the files as well. But not the best spokesperson for the movement, at least for the conservative side. Boebert, same thing. Massie, on the other hand, Massie, who is considered, and I quote, the greenest member of all of Congress because of how good he is on environmental issues. Y'all know he lives off the grid, right? Maintains his own land, his own property. He lives completely off the grid when he goes back home. He, I might disagree with him because he doesn't support things like universal health care, but at least he's consistent. He just believes it would end up being a scam that the government uses to launder money and spend more money than it has. Okay, if that is you're going to be your reason, you're being consistent at least. It's not like Rand Paul. But outside of that, like Massie is consistently against forever wars. He's consistently good on the environment, which Trump is utterly destroying at the moment. During COVID, not only did he get every vote right, but he was screaming at the top of his lungs for people to pay attention to the scam that the legislature was trying to pull on the American people. He's been wildly consistent, actually. It's scary how consistent Thomas Massie has been. He's maybe a true libertarian, actually. So if you have that man, not an MTG, not a Boebert, but that man lending credence to the Epstein files, your potential implication in those files, the implication of your allies in those files, lending credence to the stories of the victims, which he has done, calling out the war with Iran, which is an Epstein class war, which we've talked about, calling out AIPAC, refusing to back down from AIPAC, even after his wife died, right after he called out AIPAC. Yeah, I know she had autoimmune disease issues. That part is true. But I just find it really weird that it was that day or within a 2-week time frame, not even. He was like in an open war, giving detailed descriptions of exactly how AIPAC manipulates Congress, how they show up, give you a bill, see if you'll introduce it or question them. And he's like, no. That got me messed up. And how he's going to continue to speak out against them. And how he refused to bend the knee. And then, boop, she passes away. Yeah, the Epstein class is dumping money into a race to unseat Thomas Massie, who was, for all intents and purposes, was in a safe district. And he started off with 70% chance to win. I honestly can't believe the race has gotten as close as it's gotten. I mean, I can believe it because usually the money does equate to that, right? That's what they don't spend that much money for nothing. But it is terrifying that Thomas Massie, who is about, when you talk about batting 1,000 for your district, he's about as close to that as you can get as a congressperson. And if he can be unseated, America is cooked for real. Y'all do know that. Yeah, that is terrifying that the Epstein class can join together in such a way and unseat somebody who was, electorally speaking, untouchable. Part of the reason why he was so bold is because electorally speaking, he was untouchable. The fact that it's gotten this close shows you how desperate the Epstein class is to get rid of him, but also shows you just how much we do not have control over our elections. And also just how desperate they are to prove that they aren't guilty of everything we know that they're guilty of. It's like, okay, if Thomas Massie is wrong, then let him be wrong. Right? If Thomas Massie is wrong about the war with Iran, if he's, and if Iran does get a nuke, oh man, you were right. He was wrong. Okay, cool. If Thomas Massie was wrong about the scam with the CARE Act and Operation Warp Speed, which he was not, let him be wrong. If he's wrong about the Epstein files and nobody important is implicated and let him be wrong. But it's very clear that he is right, and he is right with one of the loudest microphones in the legislature right at this moment. Before, I remember during the pandemic, Thomas Massie was kind of underrated and undervalued as a legislature because he wasn't getting legislation passed. Oh, okay, what do y'all expect him to do? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm trying to literally stop all wars. I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? It's one thing if he wasn't getting legislation passed and he also was on the right side of issues, but he was on the right side of issues. He was working to get initiatives done to make bills better, things like that. But you want an idealist to introduce legislation. He could, but it's that's not really the best use of his time because he already knows how it's going to end up, especially considering how much he would have to go through the Republican Party to get it done. So, his speeches were undervalued until very recently. His stances were undervalued. His politics were undervalued until very recently. This Israel situation has shined a light on everybody. This Epstein situation has shined a light on everybody. And he brought up a magnificent point in an interview 8 months ago that kind of went, once again, under discuss. Let's check it out.
All the files. I actually don't think he's done anything criminal. I think he may be covering for some rich and powerful people that are friends of his. And in fact, some of those billionaires are running ads against me in Kentucky right now. One of them is in Epstein's black book. So we're getting close to the center of power here. And I think, embarrassment is not a reason to conceal all of this stuff. We've got to get it out in the open, regardless of whose friends might be incriminated.
You hear that? A billionaire from the black book who's in the files is donating to the opponent. I've never seen so many middle fingers just thrown out there. Yeah, we don't give a fuck, y'all. We don't care. Shit. Yup. I know I'm implicated. I know my name is going to show up on these filings, and I'm still going to donate. Why? Because F y'all. Y'all can't do anything about it. Random aside, did y'all know Oklahoma introduced a law that said that that would have outlawed child marriages? And do y'all know every single Republican in the legislature in Oklahoma voted against it? Bruh. That's just a random aside. I know. I need to do a video about that shit. But what? And they'll sit there and they'll try to convince you that it's the Republicans that are against the pedos and the liberals support the pedos. No, both y'all be pedophiling together. And the ones who usually are screaming about the loudest, instead of the ones in power screaming about the loudest, instead of actually doing things to resolve the issue, are generally guilty of it. Right? More evidence of that. I can't believe I when I read that news about Oklahoma, I was like, what? This guy, it must be some. No, it happened. It's nuts. But that's effectively what we're seeing with Massie, right? All the ones who were so gung-ho about releasing the Epstein files, right? The ones that were accusing Biden and Hunter Biden, which is true. I'm not saying that they're not pedos, but like they were accusing them of being guilty of it, accusing them of enabling trafficking, and accusing them of enabling Epstein. Okay. All of them are now attacking Massie for trying to hold Trump accountable and hold people in the Epstein files accountable. Which makes me nervous to know or to see what is on y'all hard drives. I know there's already been people getting exposed. People, the loudest critiques of Massie or the loudest supporters of Trump getting, prosecuted of child pornography. What? Again? How are you talking that shit? Like, it's happened more than once. To the point where people don't even, another one, another one, another one. Not surprised. No one's even surprised anymore when it happens. So I'm sure y'all heard that Pete Hegseth also went to campaign for AIPAC Ed, Thomas Massie's opponent. But Trump even went out, which is, by the way, I said this during my hotspot video yesterday. If you didn't watch it, go check it out. That's irregular. That is unprecedented. We've never seen the Secretary of Defense go to campaign for another candidate. That is ludicrous. That doesn't happen. But once again, this is the entirety of the Epstein class. They're all in on this race against Massie, bro. It is absolutely nuts. And that is just more evidence of it. And we have even further evidence of it because today, Donald Trump took time out of his whole damn presidential day. You know, you're in the middle of World War III, my guy. But hey, let me make sure to release a video telling you guys to vote against Massie. I'm dead ass serious, y'all. And it is the mouth dribble word vomit that you expect it to be. I don't actually know why I would vote against Massie based off of this video.
I hope you're going to put him out of business tomorrow. I'm in the Oval Office, and we're in a fight against the worst congressman in the history of our country. His name is Thomas Massie. He's from Kentucky. I hope you're going to put him out of business tomorrow. He is so bad. Got an election coming up. He's running against a great guy, a great patriot, Ed Gilrain. He's fantastic. But forget that. Massie's
But forget that.
Congressman.
You hear him? He's a patriot. He's a great guy. But forget that. Well, no, if I'm going to vote for somebody, you want to give me some good reasons as to why it would be worth me switching the vote that I was originally going to make from Massie to this new guy that you're saying is a great guy? Forget that. You think you know? Nah, it really ain't got nothing to do with Ed. I can't give you a single reason as to why you support Ed. I'm just trying to convince you to not vote for Thomas. Bro.
In the history of our country, always voting against Republicans and good values. So get rid of Thomas Massie.
He's always voted against Republicans and good values. I'm not going to lie to you. You always voted against Republican. If your values, which are, grabbing by the pussy, out here buying your wife, like literally purchasing wives, pedo activity, allegedly, like you sexually assaulted your ex-wife, and your justification, like, for not, like, no, I didn't. Why? Because we were technically still married. What? Okay, that's not really how that works, but okay. If those are the values that Thomas Massie is voting against, like the values that you hold in your Republican Party, Okay, I'm cool with that. But once again, and no one actually can tell you any positive policy points that Ed has. I can tell you that he wants to bring back the military draft, y'all. And this is why you don't really see him get put in front of a camera all too often. He actually left the Republican Party because he hated Trump back in the day. Well, the 2015, 2016. And so why does he come back now? Same reason J.D. Vance hated Trump and then all of a sudden became Trump's bestie. Same reason Hillary Clinton is giving Trump so much love on his evolution on foreign policy. Because Trump is every bit of the neocon, if not worse, as they are. He said, hey, man, appreciate you coming back to the dark side. Had a little worry there for a bit, but yeah, we're ready to play ball now. This Ed guy is a neocon of neocons. He is extremely uncharismatic. I don't think that I actually have said his name more than 5, like before yesterday when I did a video on him. I think I've literally said his name out loud more than 5 times the last 8 or 9 months since he announced running. Because he is that unimportant. Y'all gotta hear. So the Republican bill that they're really upset about that Thomas Massie voted against was the quote unquote big beautiful bill, right? Which we all know was a big waste of money and a corporate giveaway. Massie's speech was chef's kiss. And I need y'all to understand, like, it's speeches like this, stances like this, in moments like this, that is driving the Epstein class to go after him, because people like Massie are gaining a louder microphone because of social media, because of how much people hate Trump at this point. All of the above. And where do the mandates come from? The mandates come from popular support. And movements are made, whether or not Congress wants to, introduce or pass legislation, whether the president wants to go to war or does not want to go to war, everybody is affected when all the people are aware of what's going on. They're making it acknowledge that they don't support it. Why do you think they're all scrambling to try to gain control of this propaganda war when it comes to the genocide? Because they need the mandate from the people, or things start going south. Not in like the most obvious ways, not like, oh man, they're gonna vote for this instead of this. No, people start losing jobs. Money starts, BDS, money stops flowing in. People start scrutinizing more. Whereas maybe a prosecutor wouldn't have had the balls to try and hold you accountable for some crime. Now I got to, because the people are on my ass and they're the ones who elected me. So sorry, somebody gotta go. It ain't gonna be me. Self-interest start kicking in. And when self-interest start kicking in, that's when you start seeing the change come. And people like Massie give people a microphone to start implementing that change, because he's one of the few that are saying, this shit is wrong. We got to do something about it. You only need one spark to start a forest fire. Ask Israelis, they know.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 90 seconds.
Well, I'd love to stand here and tell the American people, we can cut your taxes and we can increase spending and everything's going to be just fine. But I can't do that because I'm here to deliver a dose of reality. This bill dramatically increases deficits in the near term, but promises our government will be fiscally responsible 5 years from now. Where have we heard that before? How do you bind a future Congress to these promises? This bill is a debt bomb ticking. Congress can do funny math, fantasy math, if it wants, but bond investors don't. And this week, they sent us a message. Moody's downgraded our credit rating, and the bond investors who buy our debt and finance our debt demanded higher interest rates on the 10-year note, the 20-year note, and the 30-year note. What does this mean? Very soon, the government will be paying $16,000 of interest alone per U.S. family. And what are we telling them? Instead of taking care of that problem, we're going to give you a $1,600 tax break. Under the taxing and spending levels in this bill, we're going to rack up, the authors say, $20 trillion of new debt over the next 10 years. I'm telling you, it's closer to $30 trillion of new debt in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, we're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg. If something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight.
First of all, given the current context of the discussion surrounding Thomas Massie and his crazy ex-girlfriend, at least that's what she's claiming to be, that Laura Loomer interviewed yesterday. If something is ugly, don't do it after midnight. Or excuse me, if something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight. Using that line to call out the big, beautiful bill, in hindsight, has goated Thomas Massie. I've never even heard that. See, that's that Southern shit, boy. That's that Southern stuff. Because Southerners be coming up with a wild metaphor. If something's beautiful, you don't do it after midnight. And by the way, obviously, you know, he's referring to the fact that they all convened to vote on it after midnight because they didn't want people to be awake whenever they passed it. They didn't want to be receiving 50,000 calls. And you know, the Democrats were running it too. In case y'all were curious. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's like, nah, Thomas Massie votes against Republicans. No. Thomas Massie votes in favor of the American people. I can say that pretty confidently. He votes in favor of the American people. And I'm not going to lie to you, this little trick that Laura Loomer tried to pull out of a hat the other day or yesterday, I'm going to introduce an X that talks about how much buns Thomas Massie gets. That's going to make people not want to vote for him. Bro, I was unfamiliar with your game, Mr. Massie. I apologize. I did not know you was a smooth operator to such a degree. Okay. Bro, like, this is it. Man, yeah, man, he was leaving her. He got Lauren Boebert. He got a new girlfriend now. Yeah, man, he just out here cleaning house. Thomas Massie, a certified lover boy. Shit, man. Don't let me fly. I'll leave Rio and fly to Kentucky right now. Let me go ahead and get registered. If I wasn't going to vote for him, I might do it now. You ain't really, that lets you know, though, to some degree, even though, once again, the polling is actually, we can't confide in polling, but the polling is showing that they're a little bit closer than they should be. He's closer to Massie than anybody's ever been. But they're like, okay, the record isn't working because you can't use his voting record against him. The voting record will further expose the Epstein class. Right? You can't use public statements that he made. You can't go to a social media account. You can't even use the fact that he's against Trump because Trump is wildly unpopular. So now we're going to, he's a slut. We out here slut shaming Thomas Massie. And the biggest thing, oh man, he had sex with a woman a couple of months after his wife died. You know, people cope in different ways. We don't know what kind of relationship he had with his wife. Like, he loved his wife dearly, but we don't know if they were a little bit more modern. You know, Thomas Massie seems to be a little bit into the, you know, a little freak. Okay. If his wife let him do his thing, there's nothing wrong with that. That's their personal business. His sex life is his personal business. It is weird. Unless it was a massive scandal, which I'm not convinced his ex, who's also saying that she was offered money to not say anything. I'm like, it doesn't sound like you were ex. It sound like you were a jump off. I don't know if y'all know what that phrase means, but basically a side piece, effectively. And I'm like, I know a lot of side pieces who acted crazy and somebody tried to keep them quiet because they didn't realize how crazy they were in the initial stages of the situationship. But based off of her description of their relationship, it didn't sound like she was an actual girlfriend. It sounded like you were her side piece and maybe you didn't know. But I'm not gonna be mad at this man for having sex 2 months after his wife died. Like, well, he's supposed to stop living his life. Is there like a grieving period? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. You know, Erica Kirk has broken all the rules as far as how we're supposed to grieve for our deceased partners now. So, Jesus Christ, he said, I don't know what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to throw sparklers and walk out to a fucking a theme, his theme music like WrestleMania? Would that have been more acceptable for you, Laura? Come on, bro. Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. Somebody asked me if that's something. Yeah, Laura Luma did an exclusive with his ex-girlfriend. Allegedly, is his ex-girlfriend. I don't know if it's actually his ex. She calls herself his ex based off of the description. Based off what I heard, she sounds like a side piece who did not know she was a side piece, which is awkward. Also, the timing of all this is extremely suspect. Because you wait till what? Their elections, if I'm not, Niko bringing back jump off. Hey, man, should have never left. But shout out to my millennials out there. But if I'm not mistaken, I want to say their election is today. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, and then Laura Loomer working for the ops as usual. Drops his interview about X before anyone can go and actually verify anything that if any of the things that she is claiming are in fact true before the election. But it's weird. This person who is claiming she was so hurt and betrayed by Thomas Massie, et cetera, you don't say anything until the day before the election, and then the person that you report all this to is a certified psychopath. Laura, I'm talking about Laura Loomer. That's who you decide to do an interview with? If you wanted this to be taken seriously, if you wanted to be perceived as being credible, you don't go to Laura Loomer. Like, she's not considered to be a beacon of credibility. I don't know if you know that. And if you actually go to the girl's Twitter, bruh, just look at some of her old tweets. Talk about how she's a pervert. Like, bruh, yeah, she's suspect. She's crazy. And she only made a Twitter in 2025, which is also kind of weird. But that is what they're relying on to take down Thomas Massie now. Like, that's their last ditch effort. Now we have to try to attack his character, because has been extremely difficult to do because he's an upstanding guy. And I'm sorry, but he has a girlfriend right now. She, by all reports. Oh, by the way, I don't know if y'all seen Thomas Massie's girlfriend, his current girlfriend, but she a bad. Like, you know, you're bad. I'm not a fan of white girls, but that's a bad white girl. Look, hold up, man, I gotta show y'all now. Cause I was like, hold up, maybe is there like a famous celebrity Thomas Massie that I should know about? Nope. I started noticing whenever he started, he started growing out the beard a little bit. The girls like the beard. I don't know if y'all know that. My wife loves my beard, that's why I can't cut it. I can't even cut it down. But that's a whole fight in my house. I'm like, boy, this switching up a little bit, isn't he? Yeah. Hold up. So that's Thomas Massie's girlfriend if you get a chance to look at the screen. That's a cute white girl. My man Massie is winning on all fronts. Doing pretty well for himself. Proud of the guy. Good job, man. Way to get back out there and get it. Imagine when everybody's Googling trying to figure out what's going on with your ex. Like when and now if you see the ex, quote unquote, that's accusing him of say, I don't even know what, sleeping with Lauren Boebert, which is also like, you're not helping. Like, damn boy, you knocked her down too? They said that's the real reason why she was in Kentucky. Really? It was? Damn, Massie, I didn't know you was slanging it like that, dog. But imagine you're like Googling, trying to figure out what's going on with Massie's ex, and then you see this picture, you're like, damn. Well, that boy Massie done came up. The ex, on the other hand, if you seen his ex, I'm not gonna Google her. I'm not gonna ruin my day by looking at her face again. He upgraded, which is the ex supposedly is like that side piece that you don't tell nobody about. You know what I'm saying? She only comes over, as Thomas Massie would say, after 12 a.m. when it's dark and nobody's around. And you send her ass home early before the sun rises. She don't eat breakfast. Is at her house. Yeah, that's what the ex look like. So imagine if you like looking up the situation and you see Thomas Massie's new girlfriend, you're like, damn, bro, what? Let me go ahead and put my vote in for this player. Player, boom. Massie, lock that down one more time. But man, on a serious note, though, I do feel like the grander implications of this race are significant because if they can get him out, there is no, I'm like, bro, I know this is maybe, no, y'all watching my show, so I hope y'all know that Ro Khanna is definitely a con man. But like them introducing this legislation together with the Epstein files, for example, that is because of Massie's character, and absolutely Ro Khanna was attempting to shine under the star of Thomas Massie because he has unimpeachable integrity. Like him being at the forefront of this Epstein situation is not a surprise to me. Ro Khanna finally having the courage to say something about it is. Like Ro Khanna won't be that brave by himself ever again. You get what I'm saying? Like these Democrats, there's nobody in Congress right now as brave as Thomas Massie, or who will have the courage to do anything without Massie being willing to take the media hit for doing so. There's no Republican brave enough to stand up to Trump because they don't have Massie to hide behind anymore. And this has major implications because it is literally, Massie is carrying the entire world across the finish line to get these goddamn Epstein files. And we don't appreciate it enough. Because it's just beyond unseating a congressman. His name is on the hit list somewhere. We know this, right? I mean, I'm pretty confident that his name is on the hit list somewhere. If you catch him slipping, pew, pew. But considering he's a congressman from Kentucky, I'm sure he is rarely caught slipping when he's back home. He probably concealed the carry, open carry, got something in the back, the trunk. He got a sidearm. Boy, what? You can guarantee he riding dirty. So the next option was this. But every time he speaks about these issues, he knows the target's on his back in a way that no other congressperson will be targeted because they are not as brave as he is. And if they can successfully unseat Thomas Massie, they are showing us officially, I mean, it was kind of official whenever they got rid of the DNC fraud lawsuit, when they dismissed it at the Supreme Court. But as far as pretending to have a legitimate election when we all know this isn't legitimate, when they're using a president, Secretary of Defense, $25 million in AIPAC money, negative publicity, et cetera, all this to unseat a man just because this isn't about the big, beautiful bill necessarily. It adds fuel to Trump's fire. He don't like when people vote against him. But people arguing that that's the reason why Trump wants him out. Y'all don't seem to understand. He's voted against Trump before. Like, he's voted against Republicans during Trump's first term. And Trump wasn't throwing his weight behind an opponent to primary him. The Secretary of Defense was throwing their weight behind an opponent to primary him. The entire Epstein class wasn't throwing their weight behind an opponent to primary him. They were not trying to find ex-girlfriends to interview to call his character into question. Like, this isn't about necessarily, oh, he voted against Trump and the Republicans. No. This is about what he is trying to expose, which is the Epstein class, which is AIPAC's influence over our government, Israel's influence over the U.S. government, over U.S. Congress members. Y'all got to remember, he explained exactly how AIPAC runs and how they manipulate Congress people, or rather, not manipulate, how they order them around. Hey, I'm not going to pretend like AIPAC is not putting any effort into manipulating anybody. They gonna do it. They gonna, hey, here's what the you gonna do. Do it. Thank you. Ciao. And so every congressman is sitting there with I'm getting bitched around by AIPAC and not doing anything about it ass face. And I haven't even had the balls to say in an interview exactly how AIPAC threatens me, tells me what I got to do, and I just go around doing it. He exposed everybody. Yeah, he's a problem. And I don't think that they realize this, but if you knock him out of Congress, which means he has no reason to worry about re-election, because, you know, congressmen, they have to run every 2 years. So all of a sudden, you know what? I ain't got shit else to do. Why don't I go make the entire establishment's life a living hell and go run for president? So even if he loses, this could backfire. Because I'm pretty sure he was content with being, well, I don't know if he was content with, because usually he's not like at the forefront of many issues, but recently he has been jumping to the forefront of a lot of issues, more so than usual. So maybe he already intended on running for president, and that's part of the reason why they wanted to get him out. But if you if you use these tactics to get him out of power and try to take away his influence, I can almost guarantee Thomas Massie is a petty individual. I don't know if y'all ever seen him go back and forth with Trump on social media, but that is a petty individual. Thomas Massie is absolutely the type to run for president just to piss all the Epstein class off. Like, he is that type. And I personally am here for it. Because otherwise it's going to be an election of us criticizing 16 candidates for hours and hours and hours, exposing their asses, which is cool. I'm fine with that. But I would like somebody to cheer for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would like a not lesser of two evils situation. And Thomas Massie would be the only person that presents that option. And I would like somebody that would have the balls to call out the Epstein class. Like, the fact that this isn't in the news every day still it's insane. Do y'all not agree? Like, hey, man, still haven't gotten them unredacted files. Hey, man, still haven't gotten unredacted files. Hey, man, people still haven't been prosecuted. Still. In the day, nope, nothing, nada. So imagine a man who got unseated specifically because of this, in the same way Cynthia McKinney got unseated they really royally screwed her. Out of Georgia, they redistricted to make sure she couldn't win. Right? Like, the way that she got removed for stand up to Israel. It was different back then. But now, if they actually are able to remove Thomas Massie, assuming that he can't win a district, that's a far cry away from assuming that he couldn't win his state in a primary presidential primary race. Yeah, that is not the same thing. Because then he just gonna use the fact that y'all spent an obscene amount of money, and that a foreign country influenced the outcome of his race. How y'all gonna deal with that? I'm sure Laura Moore keep bringing up Qatar for whatever reason. Like Qatar and Israel aren't on the same team, but that's a different conversation for a different day. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream episode of For the People podcast. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you come after to comment to help boost us in the algorithm. If you're watching on X right now, go to that YouTube link and click the subscribe button, please. Share. You can consider contributing to our show by becoming a YouTube premium member, or you can become a Patreon member. Both are in the links in the description. And make sure y'all go support Dr. Ron as well. Dropthecase.com. That was that's a tragic story. Even if he wins, it's still like wasting so many years of his life after he dedicated so many of his helping people. It's absolutely ridiculous. So go support him and tell his story. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.